First hit with modern approvals. What are modern approvals? Basically, or what are approvals in general? So approvals are used to approve the time entries happening in our projects. So we want to put them through a multi-factor approval process where we want to check what is going on the projects, and we want to double check if everything is all right, what the employee tracks in their tracking or time entry creation phase. And those approvals got an update. This update is called modern approvals, and this is available right now on PSA and Project Ops. So it's available of both the versions, and if you have still PSA there in place, you can go there and enable it, because you have to do it manually. And basically what is happening there, it is batching the approval in different sets and then proceeds them. So normally when we have like a number of 20, 25, 50 records to approve, it kind of blocks the system, and it's quite slow. And Microsoft got rid of that functionality basically and moved it to an asynchronous functionality, which also will rerun from time to time to just increase the consistency of that. So let's talk about a bit of the functionality. We do have the functionality that the approvals are processed asynchronously or synchronously. So we have both ways right now, basically. So we can go both ways. This is a bit depending on how much approvals are in your system, what is the process of your project managers, if they're approving more likely on the end of the month or at the end of the week. And normally when we talk about customers, then we know that it's mainly end of the month. And what's happening in the background is now, if I select as a project manager my approvals and I reach a certain number, those approval sets then will be proceed asynchronously in the background. So they will be removed from my view, from my current view where I approve my records, and then will move to the background. And all of these approvals I'm now approving are summarized in so-called approval sets. So the set is basically depending on the project. It's also depending on the state. So if I want to approve or reject or recall something, it's always an own set. So it's depending on the stage and, as mentioned, on the project. So we can also have a new entity there. We can include to reporting, for example. And those approval sets, they will then summarize the selected approvals. So for example, I have 10 records to approve, and 5 of them are from the same project, and I will do all the approval job on all of them. Then those 5 records get summarized in one of the approval sets, and I can also track that and find out what is the state of that and how often it was run and how often it may failed and all these stuff. So I can check basically everything right there. Also, what is kind of that, if it should fail at the end, which shouldn't happen that often anymore, you do have also a log file there in the notes. So there's a notes attachment of each of the approval sets that holds all the information for each approval that gets proceed within that approval set. And with that, you can like trigger or you can like, yeah, find out what is happening, why your approval didn't proceed correctly. Yeah, so as mentioned, we are summarizing the project approvals and sets. We do have a custom threshold value. What does mean by that? There's the customer given opportunity that they can decide when do you want to have that asynchronous flow starting. So in the settings, you can set up the value for that, and you can either decide if you want to go with like a smaller value where we go with like a 3 or 5, where we then have like those numbers reached and go to async mode, or we choose a higher mode, will like everything like till 10 will be still proceed synchronously, because this is basically a breaking point we have there, and can go async or sync on that. So it's completely custom, and we see everything right there. And why I've mentioned that it will be reapproved, or it will be basically triggered again when we go with the async. There's a cloud flow actually in the background that retriggers queued up approval sets. So every time that that flow runs, it picks up the approval set and tries to approve it again. So it not really does not make it any faster or something, but it improves the consistency, and that's what we want at the end of the day. So we don't want anymore that our approvals are basically stuck in a pending phase, where we not sure what is happening. Is something still happening, or is it already like leftovers or so? And do I need to reapprove that again? And for example, in or especially in customer scenarios, we have additional quality gates on the approval. So there's not often the case support engineer can go there and just reapprove everything and does that manually. Very often then those don't have like the right permissions, or there's a custom quality gate on that sitting on top of the whole approval process, which then again slows a bit down and makes it more difficult to reapprove stuff. But like this new approval setup, we do have more possibilities, and we can manage the approval of the customers much more better. And also on the benefit side, I just slided into that while talking. So we do have the individual approval setup where we are can really determine when do we want to go with the async approach and when do we want to do the sync approach. Because when I still like have like 1 or 2 records to be approved, I can do it synchronously, and then it's directly approved. Then there is no like time in between, and it's directly happens. So I don't need to wait for any async process till they are happening, and the user also gets a nice experience. The difficult or the difference here basically is that when the user is approving 10 records in the old feature setup, those 10 records will be processed, and it will take some time. And in the new one, if it's set to asynchronously, he gets a small pop-up. We will see that in a minute. And then he approves that, and it can directly go further and work on the system. So he's no longer blocked in his actions when he's waiting for the approval. And yeah, he's made not grabbing a copy while approving them, but he can just continue working on everything else.